know about predetermined because predetermination would suggest that there's some that it's already been written and it just has to play out. I will say that I do believe that we could predict the future if we knew all the nuances and intricacies of what was happening. We'd be able to predict the future in the same way that we can predict, say, a coin toss if we can, pinpoint the amount of force and at what angle we're flipping the coin. We could predict where
Yeah,
it will be launched.
great. You can do that, but that doesn't preclude choice.
But
I don't see how that. If you take out the human factor, um, it's very easy to predict how things are going to fall out. You can throw a tennis ball against a wall, and based upon that, you can mathematically calculate what trajectory it will return to you at, and at what speed, and where it's going to eventually stop. And that's easy to do. But when you've got a human factor in it, there seems to be a decision. It's on a very simplistic level. Do I go to the shop today, or do I stay at home? Do I do this extra task for my boss or not? It seems to be a choice of election, and how do you then determine anything based upon that?
as I said if we could potentially know all the nuances, which we can't, we
Well,
could.
then you'd have to know basically every psychological facet of that person, um, down to the functioning of their motor neurons, etc., 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 down to perhaps even an atomic scale. Yeah, you could possibly predict it. Um,
Right. So,
Unfortunately,
what
we don't
choice
know
is
that.
that in a meaningful sense? How is that choice free then? You just said
Well,
that you could
I
predict.
don't see that the ability to. I don't see that the ability to predict precludes choice. I mean, if the choice is there, whatever the case may be, um, it's not to say that within the scope of your mind, at least if you look at human beings, within the scope of your mind, your capacity, the choice still seems to present itself. Just because you can predict what that choice is based upon how the motor neurons function, or non-motor neurons, however, whatever set of neurons function, I don't see that it would exclude choice at all.
Right. So we'd be in agreement that a choice is made, but I propose that the choices are based off what has been built up within us. I'll give an example of a simple case of the choice whether to have a second piece of cake versus the choice to just have a modest portion, one piece of cake. Um, Now you're going to have like a scale in your mind, and you're going to have, say, you desire the cake because it's delicious, so you desire to have two pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But in contrast, you have a desire to not look greedy in front of your friends at the party.
Mm-hmm.
And each of these two desires within you, the weight that's been put on the scales is going to be from your how you've been raised, how you've lived in the world. Uh, let's add onto the scale. You might have a desire to not gain weight, and that's going to have come from somewhere. Why is it that you have
So
a
you're saying everything, including existential factors, can be weighed up into this model?
yes? And when we make a choice, we're
All
making the
existential factors. I'm just trying to see
yes. It would
exactly
be
what
it would be existential.
how
It
this
would be
works.
mainly existential factors. I think there is a room obviously for our brains because our brains can trump our
Well,
psychology.
brains do think differently.
Exactly, as a result of different experiences.
Yeah, it's
So
interesting.
when we make a choice, we are programmed into making that choice. I'm not going to go choose to rape someone because I've been loved and nurtured and been told it's wrong, and thus, the capabilities in me to empathize have come to fruition. I couldn't do it. I also don't desire to do it. But someone who does choose to go rape someone, let's say they've been raped themselves, they've been abused themselves, So they've lost the innate empathy, which is a potential within us, has been lost. It's been trumped by this abuse, and there is also a desire to exact some revenge for the rape that's happened to them. It's been programmed into them to make that choice.
Right. Correct. I think I understand where you're going with it. You're basically saying, yes, the choice exists, but
it's not a free
it
choice.
doesn't, because
It's not a free choice. We're going to make that choice based off, a catalogue of events that have happened that have led us up to this moment.
It really does go a little bit further there. Back then, I think the big question is then, what is that person if it has no free choice? And if you look at it from another perspective, in the law, for instance, that would really mean if this person had no true free choice and it was governed by all his previous experiences, etc., 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 the poor thing, were he to go out and rape someone, it would really be wrong to punish him because he had no choice. He never made that choice of his own volition. It just wasn't open to him. And that doesn't seem to be how society functions.
Yes, exactly. And I don't agree with the judicial system in so much that obviously I agree to incarcerate this person, not to punish them for a deed which they could not have, not done, but because for the safety of other people. It should be noted that we feel we have a choice. I maintain that that's illusory, because if, say, right now you can comprehend what you're going to do, it's just that there's enough reflections going on that they're sort of bending back in on themselves, so you can comprehend what you're going to do. So it feels like you have a choice to move or do whatever, to speak into your microphone. But let's say a huge bang suddenly occurs and you jump. You're going to jump out of your skin, and you would not have had the choice to do otherwise. And likewise, when you get into sort of traumatic situations, you act before making a choice.
It's an involuntary action, yeah. That I'll accept. There really isn't too much choice in that. Things like involuntary actions, there really doesn't seem to be a choice. But it would really then be proposing that no one can change what they are.
Well, no, they can change what they are, but that's all part of the system as well. There's going to be a desire to change what they are, and that's going to have come from somewhere either. Let's say, they do decide to change who they are. Maybe something has caused them to suddenly desire the acceptance of other people, so they're going to change their ways to be accepted and embraced by the other people. But let's say they don't have a desire to change who they are. Maybe they just hate people, and likewise these feelings.
I mean, the desire seems to imply some form of choice.
No, it doesn't, because our desires are based off how we've been raised. I have a desire to get into an intimate relationship, but someone not as fortunate as myself has the desire to go and get into a fight. And the desires come from our upbringing in that way.
It's interesting. I have a question for you.